Good evening and welcome to episode 13 of Watchin You. My name is Jason, and joining me from Nova Scotia is...
Well, I'm not sure. Am I Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or Predator, or who am I?
I don't know who you are. Oh, it's Jeff Gray. And I'm Jeff Scott in St. John, New Brunswick. Welcome to episode 13 of Watchin You. So, Jeff, do you feel lucky?
Not so far. I mean,
no.
I'm not feeling too lucky, but I'm pretty enthused about this show, I got to say.
Yeah, it's like we've got a bunch of 13 topics to talk about, and not sure where it will take us, but Friday 13th has always had some kind of a folkloric meaning to the unlucky day, a day of horror. Jeff and I just spent easily 45 minutes just trying to get our headphones and microphones working. So it was a total nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It was worse than acoustic guitars.
And we never usually have this kind of problem either. So
no, usually we just plug in and go. We figured it's because it's episode 13. So there you go. I mean, the myth is true, Jeff.
It is absolutely true. I'm sitting right beside a ladder.
And there goes the black cat.
I just got rid of my black cat. I had a black cat.
Oh, did you? That little cat on the back stoop?
Yeah, she's gone to my mother-in-law, so we won't talk about that too much. So that'll be a good show. Let's talk about my cat.
Your mother-in-law took that little cat. Well, that's good.
We talked, this 13 show, it's amazing when you start digging. Like you and I, Jeff, we really talked about this one because we're always trying to look for themes when we do these shows. We don't just do them randomly. And 13... And when is this one going to be out, Jeff?
Friday 13th.
Friday 13th, December 13th. So we went out to some of our viewers and thought and brainstormed it ourselves, all the different things that had to do with Kiss and the number 13. I was really quite surprised at how many different things we were able to come up with through ourselves and other people.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? You want to start with our list?
Well, yeah, let's start with the list. Why don't we start with the albums? I mean, we should talk about the 13th album. And everybody knows the 13th album, of course, is Asylum, right?
Well, no, is it? Well, there's a debate. I figured the debate could be as much of a discussion as the 13th album itself.
What's the debate? It's the 13th studio album. I don't understand.
That's what Wikipedia says. The 13th studio album is Asylum, but they didn't count Alive. They didn't count Alive 2, which both have a lot of studio content. They didn't count the solo albums, which are, to me, Kiss records, because it has the Kiss logo right in the upper left-hand corner, right-hand corner. So when I sat down and counted all the releases, the actual Casablanca releases under the name of Kiss, and including double platinum, 13 brings us into the solo albums, and on the Kiss website itself, they show them all in order, including double platinum, and 13 actually falls on Ace Frehley's solo album.
Well,
so
that would be too. So
there's debate. Like I guess it's hard to say what is the 13th album. Is it the 13th studio album, or is it the 13th release? It's hard to say which is the 13th record.
It's not really. I mean, it's not really a debate. I mean, it's really a choice of how you decide to look at it, whatever you choose to look at. If we choose to look at the 13th release, right? And then which of the when you said Ace Frehley's album, was that based on date of release? Because they were all released at the same time, right? Yeah,
no, I'm just saying that on the Kiss Online website, it shows all of the albums in order, from Kiss right up through, including double platinum. So I just counted them, and the like I say, 13 falls within the solo albums. They just happen to have Ace Frehley as the 13th one.
Well, I think we should just go by the studio albums that were postured as the total band, and which would put us at, and this is a great way for us to get to talk about one of the 80s albums that you haven't spent any time listening to up until recently.
I did yesterday.
Yeah, right on. So I think Asylum is a great topic myself, and for a lot of different reasons, and it's right in the middle of all that 80s stuff there, and then I think it was the second album that Bruce Kulick was on. So we can get
what's before it? Animalize?
It's either Animalize or Crazy Nights. I can't remember which.
I think Crazy Nights came after. Is it 85? Is it that early?
It was 86, I think, when
86?
when this one was out. Yeah, and anyway, it's but it's in that whole era, like it's when we get the chance to talk about the album, you'll see. Like I actually, one of the things I have to do when I go back to the 80s is I have to really try hard to remember what I was. I say this often. I had to remember what was I doing at the time. What did I think then? Not what do I think. Not what do I think now? Because it really does change. Because I remember I was thinking about that today. Was that when you go back to the mid 80s, I actually was still looking for Kiss videos. You know, it was the video age, and I was still in this album. It was great to see "Tears Are Falling" and All Night, and the videos were like compared to everything else that was out there. I was really looking forward to seeing them. Right?
Yeah, it's it's not one of my favorite albums at all.
But how many times did you listen to it?
I don't think I've listened to the whole thing all the way through, and don't scoff and say, well, how can you comment when I mean, you can listen to something and know that it's not your thing. Right?
But I think that the trouble for you, like I said, is if you can go back and when people put out music, what was going on at the time that they put it out, and now it talks about staying power though. Like I mean, you can look at some albums, and saying, okay, is it still relevant? You can say that very clearly, right?
Well, there are some titles here I certainly recognize. I mean, "Tears Are Falling" is something that pops up often. Yeah. I don't really recognize any of the other titles. All Night, but I certainly couldn't. Well,
I can tell you that
even hum a bar of it.
At the time, there's about 4 songs. Let me see what songs. "Who Wants to Be Lonely" was the song that got a lot of.
Yes, I recognize that one.
"Who Wants to Be Lonely." Actually, it's a really good Paul vocal, but it's very 80. It's in that whole genre, that time when Paul was getting into the 2 things he was doing. He was doing the big vocals, the Michael Bolton vocals, and doing lots of dancing around the stage without playing his guitar.
And consider who else was. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Oh, it sounded like you got cut off. Consider who else was huge. Oh, sorry. No, it sounded like I lost your audio. Something popped.
That happens when you cut me off.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish your sentence.
Oh, I can't even remember what it was. I have no idea what I was talking about. Go ahead. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. You were talking about where you were at that time.
Yeah.
And in 1985, I think Kiss was probably the last thing on my mind. I was 19. 19. I mean, in college, looking to date, Kiss just didn't do it for me anymore. Not like it did. I mean, when I was in grade 7 and 8 and 9, just total Kissaholic. And just totally tuned them out totally in the 80s. Also consider who they were competing with at the time. Who was huge in 85? Bon Jovi, Whitesnake, Poison. A lot of those mid 80s hair metal, soft metal, Def Leppard, that kind of stuff. So they're certainly they're trying to compete with that sound, and I think. From what I heard listening to it yesterday, that's quite obvious. They're really trying to get that almost like a metal sound. But I don't think they were ever a metal band. I think they were more fun when they were a rock and roll band.
Well, this album here. I mean, if you go, one thing that was different about them at that time, was they didn't stand out. They blended in. That was the big difference. Like you think about them, the band they were before. They completely stood out, and this time they kind of fit into everything else. And you named all those bands, and I'm just visualizing these videos back, because that was what we watched, and they definitely were right in the middle. All of a sudden, it was like Whitesnake, like I said, Bon Jovi, or whoever it was, and then boom, right in the middle of that would be "Tears Are Falling" by Kiss or something like that. And but there were
that's true. They totally blended into that whole mid '80s hair metal scene.
Interesting thing about
and had no originality visually like they did before.
No, they were experimenting with wardrobes, colors, image.
I know how you feel about colors.
Well, black or silver, if that's it, right? So, but that's when Eric Carr came on board. So what you started to see in the '80s was a lot of double bass drumming. Very distinct, very unique for Kiss. And then the different guitar styles of Mark St. John and Bruce Kulick, getting all these Eddie Van Halen type guitars, lots of octaves, lots of harmonics, and whammy bar bands and dive bombs and all these kind of things, right?
That dive bomb tremolo, you get into a solo and it's and it's like that's so not Ace really.
Oh my gosh,
Ace had such a style and such a clean approach, even just coming into a solo. Like you take the solo to Deuce, where he's just taking that either an A or a D. I'd have to have my guitar in front of me, but he just takes that note on the G string and just bends the hell out of it. One note, and it's like it's like I'm taking this note home, and I'm feeling it. I'm making love to it. Just whatever I can do with this note, and as many cool things as I can do to it. That's what makes Deuce a cool solo, and he slowly moves into it, and then he winds out.
Yeah.
But a lot of these solos, it was like Eddie Van Halen wannabe.
Well, it comes
and
in,
I love it. I love Van Halen's sound, but only Van Halen can do it.
Yeah. Well, they come in. This album isn't as bad as Crazy or as Animalized, but because they come in Animalized, like every solo came in 1,000 miles an hour. At the beginning of every song. This one here can't make up its mind, this album. It has half of the album, I think, is these, mid-'80s pop. I call it pop metal, right, is what I would call it. Like things like King of the Mountain and, anyway, Slice It and I'm Alive. It's all these, double bass kicks. But then there's the other half of the album, which is songs that are really, like, you can see Paul was really trying to write some songs that were, had some pop rock sensibilities to him. Like I said, Who Wants to Be Lonely actually has one thing I noticed is that they're really simple. The best songs on this album, if you look at Who Wants to Be Lonely, if you look at Tears Are Falling and All Night, they all have this this one note staccato thing they do, and it's just the variations in the cadence, but it's kind of cool actually. But if you look at the album, when I looked at it today, Jeff, and if you look at the songs on, there's 10 songs on the album, and here's the order, okay, in terms of who wrote the songs. Paul, this is an order from 1 to 10. Paul, Gene, Paul, Gene, Paul, Gene, Paul, Gene, Paul. Yeah. That's how
pretty
it went.
Evenly distributed.
Well, it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. Which probably tells you a little bit about.
And okay, and you were saying how Paul's songs, but I think they could have been softer. I mean, even still, Who Wants to Be Lonely and Tears Are Falling still has that really heavy double bass drum sound in there. I don't know, it's double bass drum. I just find the bass drum really heavy. Compare it to something like Take Me Away Together as One on his solo album, and how beautifully soft that is. And I don't know, I just like music that was softer on the ears at that time.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah.
But for them,
and some of Gene's songs I just found, it's like, oh my God, this sounds like speed metal. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, no, I don't like I would say there's another song in there that I've messed around with a little bit with Blair, is Trial by Fire. It's just a straight 4-chord kind of rock song, right? And that's one of the Gene songs. But there's about 4. I think there's 4 songs on there that
there was one song on it that started off with a. To me, there's nothing more boring than when a song starts. Dun 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 dun. It's just like take an A chord. Yeah, and just get a 4/4 beat going on the drum. Dun, dun, dun. To me, it sounded just like Lick It Up. I said, "Is that Lick It Up?" There's a song on it that starts probably not the same chord, but it starts very much like Lick It Up. And I thought, could these guys do something in 6/8? Because in the mid '90s, Aerosmith came out with 2 really big hits, and I use them in my music class. But I use them to demonstrate 6/8.
Which songs?
Crazy by Aerosmith is in 6/8, and Crying.
Yeah,
Crying is in 6/8, and just they're not as aggressive when they're in 6/8. They're just a little more laid back. And then I started to think, well, what did Kiss ever do that's in 6/8? And I don't think there is anything.
Well, I don't think Kiss ever wrote with that intention. Like, it wasn't about artistic, musically. Okay, let's compare that to Rush or some bands like that specifically said, okay, we're going to go in 4 time signatures in this song. Yeah. They just didn't do that. They simply did it based on. And what I would say,
and you say that's sorry.
What I would say,
no, I had a thought, but go ahead.
It's okay. It'll come back to you.
It will.
Maybe.
I'll forget it. I'm getting older, Jeff.
I know.
I'll forget my thought.
What was I going to say? On this album, one of the things I was thinking about today, Jeff, and over the last little while as I was looking at this, is that you and I did the show. The second show we did was the riffs of Kiss, right?
Yes.
and the licks
Yeah.
of Kiss, the riffs of Kiss, and this
Yeah.
that's really what they got away from in the
Exactly.
80s, was getting away from writing riff-based songs to writing something else. Like even the better songs in this one aren't so much riff-based. Like you don't think, okay, there's a really cool riff. It's just it's either chord-based or so that's a big difference in this one too.
And and again, like getting back to that show, if you compare something like Watchin You, that has that, not the show, the song, that has that really cool, intricate riff. And when, if you're a guitar player, when you learn it, there's a little bit of satisfaction that goes with it because it's not an easy riff to learn. Same thing with Parasite, just as 3 notes, but it's kind of powerful. Down. And then compare that to Lick It Up, which is just an A chord. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm thinking, man, you're not even, that's not even trying to be creative with the guitar. That's just to me, that's the weakest intro to a song.
Well, I don't think of it that way so much. I just think that when you look at, as you got into the 80s albums, and Asylum included, is that riffs, what do riffs do for you? Because riffs give you distinction, give you diversity, they give you character. Right? They, you recognize, okay, that's Parasite, okay, that's She, that's even some of the chord stuff they did, like Rock Bottom, had intros and those kind of things.
Love Her All I Can had one of the best riffs.
Yeah, and so this stuff here, though, I found what happens is because of the type of music they're writing, it starts to blend all together, and you can't really separate it. Like some of those. That's why I always said, like, once they get the Hot in the Shade, they started to get back to writing some different stuff again. Now, it wasn't completely there, but they were starting to push their way out of it. And so that was what happened with Revenge. I think Revenge started to get a little more. It was a different kind of riff music, like Unholy, for instance. That's definitely a riff, right? That's a riff song again. So it has that.
Oh, definitely. They came back to that,
right? So this album here, it's interesting too. There's, you have a particular love for one song in here.
Yeah, I think my favorite song of the whole thing is Secretly Cruel.
I like it better now.
And it's not because of Kiss, it's because of what somebody else did.
Right.
He did a version of Secretly Cruel, but he 70ized it. So he took this song from 85. He heard something that was very Kiss-like and said, well, how would this have sounded if it was on Love Gun or Rock and Roll Over? So he added the pianos, and it's got that Christine 16 kind of feel to it. And he sings it just like Gene. He sounds so much like Gene doing it. And then he put on the makeup and he recorded each part separately. He videotaped each part separately. Double Virgo is his name. Look it up.
Was it just
YouTube.
one guy, or was there 2 guys?
I think it's just one guy. I think it's just the one guy in all the parts. And when he plays his solo, now this guitar solo would not have been recorded by Ace, but his guitar solo, man, is it ever Ace Frehley-like?
It's a really good.
Very much. Yeah. He does a very good Ace Frehley.
It's a really enjoyable rendition for sure. Probably way better than the original, right? Than the Secretly Cruel and Asylum, right?
So when I was listening to Asylum and then Secretly Cruel came on, and I thought, no, wait a minute, I recognize this. I said, oh yeah, that's the Double Virgo tune. Well, it's not, it's a Kiss tune. But I really enjoyed that song a little bit more because I had warmed up to it and had some familiarity with it. I'm sure if I took this album and put it in my car and listened to it over and over and over, I would warm up to it. But unlike Kiss of the 70s, I warmed up to a lot of that stuff on the first listen. I think for me, the biggest epiphany I ever had was the song Making Love. That was one of the first songs I played through my parents' stereo, the big speakers, and my God, I almost fell over. To me, that's just the quintessential Kiss song.
Well, why don't we take that
just for the sound of it?
You said you had a theory or an idea there before?
Yeah. Well, you're talking about how these songs. They don't really change dynamically or in terms of time signature. One of the songs that I use in my music class is Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden. Now, in the mid-'80s, I was incredibly turned on by Iron Maiden because to me, they were probably the top of their craft. I liked them much better than Metallica. I didn't like Metallica at all. Sorry, Metallica fans, but if I had to choose between Maiden and Metallica, it's no contest.
You don't have to choose.
No, if you got to choose. Anyway, song like Phantom of the Opera, which is really cool. It's in 4/4, but it starts off with these really cool triplets. So I use it to demonstrate triplets. But then they fall out of those triplets and they keep the same 4/4, but they're not using triplets anymore. It's just straight ahead 4/4. Then it falls into a 6/8, and Dave Murray is just doing this gorgeous, dreamy wet solo on top of this really laid back 6/8 groove. And then you come into those triplets with Steve Harris on the bass, and to me, that's what made me fall in love with Iron Maiden. The first song I'd heard was Phantom of the Opera, and I thought, these guys are amazing. It's just all these, intertwining lines, almost like
lines intertwining.
So, to me, Steve Harris was just, it was the genesis of Iron Maiden, and all his creativity was just exploding. Whereas I looked at someone like Kiss, and I'm thinking, I think they're just running out of ideas, and they're struggling to stay afloat in a sea of so many hair metal bands.
Oh yeah, I mean,
to me, we're sounding as good, if not a whole lot better than Kiss.
Well, they were trying. We talked about this a little bit when the Unmasking show. I can't remember which one it was. It doesn't really matter. But one of our previous shows, we talked about why they did that, and this is really, again, it was a finding themselves journey. And also at the same time trying to have some commercial appeal in the process. So, but you can't get any more, any more of a departure from Kiss than Iron Maiden. I mean,
well, you can't compare them.
No, I mean, not even close.
Although, I mean, there's stuff on the first Iron Maiden album that you could easily compare to some earlier Kiss material. When Ace Frehley and Peter Criss were in the mix, I mean, there's a big difference there. Yeah. These guys are not Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, and I think that they were big creative forces.
I've been really looking forward to talking about our lists.
Yes, for sure. Just to end this, also remember that Gene was struggling with identity in the mid '80s because he was doing some movies, and he was incredibly turned on by movie acting in Hollywood, and I think there was a time period when he really struggled with staying in Kiss, and I think that his songwriting on this album itself, and I had to have listened to some other '80s albums as well, but I think to me that is a huge sign that he was struggling with who he was as a musician, because I always compare it back to Gene's solo album, and to me that's the most creative of the three albums.
Of the four?
Of the four, sorry, I meant to say
skip one.
Of the three. Well, you know which one I skipped. Maybe that was maybe that was an intentional faux pas. I don't know.
A Freudian slip.
Freudian slip is what I meant to say, because I only listened to the three of them. But I think Gene's was the most creative.
We know that
of all of them. Yeah, getting back to Gene. Anyway, let's do our list.
But you're not a Gene fan. So one of the things I'd like to do though is I want to try and guess. I wrote down some. I'm not going to tell you now, but I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs that I think are going to be on your list for sure.
Well, let's just say what we're going to do here.
Yeah.
What we figured was, let's say Kiss has agreed to play your 50th birthday bash, or your 55th, or whatever,
or your 20th,
or your 20th. Doesn't matter who you are, what age, and they've agreed to play. They're going to do 13 songs. Doesn't matter what they are. They'll do anything from the catalog, but they're only going to do 13. So you had to pick and send them the list of 13 songs, your top 13. And that's, something I challenge any Kiss fan to sit down and do that.
It's fun, actually.
25 or 30, it's easy to do, but man, when you get down to 13, it's a much shorter list than you think.
You know what though? Anyway. I did the same thing. That's how I did this exercise was, and you have to rank it too. So that's the other thing is you got to come up with what's my first favorite song, second, third, fourth. That's when it gets really fun. But I did the exercise today, and I thought, well, I started off with my top 25, and I left a lot of songs off that list that are really good songs. Now, to get this down to 13 has been something else. So I wrote down, like I said, 8 of yours that I'm thinking. So,
all right, I'm curious. Go ahead.
Well, no,
and I'll let you know if you're right.
No, we'll find that out when you. I wrote them down. I promise. I'll tell the truth. Okay. So, you want me to start with mine?
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, we can. I'll start. So this is in reverse order. Okay.
So from 13 down to
I'll give you my first 5, okay, or 6. My first 6, and then you can give 6, and then we'll keep going. Okay. So here's my first 6, starting at 13. Okay. God of Thunder. Lick it.
Okay.
Lick It Up.
Yeah.
I Love It Loud.
Yeah.
War Machine.
Okay.
Any Way You Want It. And then She Kissed Me.
Okay.
Those are my first 6. What are you laughing at?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What? What are you laughing at?
Oh, sorry.
What's so funny?
Well, I didn't know we were supposed to do it that way.
Well, what way?
Well, I thought we were supposed to pick our top. I know, 13. You reversed.
I just didn't know. I didn't know. These are my top 13. These are my first 6.
You're kidding me.
No, I said God of Thunder, look it up. The God of Thunder was 13. Look It Up was 12. I Love It Loud, then Warm.
Well, I know you have an affection for Lick It Up, so I could see that being in your list. But I think the others, yeah.
You don't like those songs?
No, you're pulling a gag on me, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to put down your taste, Jeff. I mean, your list is your list, right?
I told Blair I was going to do this. I picked the songs that you've said that you've.
Yeah, you picked the ones that you know I don't like, right?
Exactly.
That was so obvious. As soon as you said God of Thunder,
I thought by the time I got to War Machine, all the different times that you've trashed these songs, I said Lick It Up. I said you'd pick it up. But I was just waiting for you to just be sure, not be so polite and say, "Yeah, get out of here. That's a nightmare. You're full of crap." Okay, so let's get serious. Okay.
All right.
That was a joke. I admit that. Okay, so. But I'll give you let's do 5 at a time, okay? So we can kind of talk.
Sure.
Okay, here's my top 13, starting at number 13.
Okay, for sure.
Yes, this is the real list. Okay, and like I said, I started with 25, and then I boiled it down. Okay, so I had a toss up at number 13, so I'm going to stick with what I had my guns the first time. I have Lick It Up at 13. Mm-hmm. I have Psycho Circus at 12. I have Two Timer at 11. I have Room Service at 10. And I have Ladies Room at 9.
Okay. Journey of 1,000 Years.
Oh, wow.
And I cheated. I cheated. I actually have 14, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
In the 14 spot, I have Only You / Under the Rose, because to me they sort of work as one song.
Well, I kind of did the same thing with Room Service and Two Timer, but I split them up. I was thinking the same thing though. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I got Journey of 1,000 Years.
Wow.
Only You, Under the Rose. Mm-hmm. Parasite. Watchin You. And Hard Luck Woman.
Okay. I can't
keep going.
Yeah, I can't disagree with those. Like Journey of 1,000 Years is really the most interesting one in there. Doesn't surprise me. We've talked about that one before, and
just love it. If you haven't heard Psycho Circus in a few years, dust it off and play it again. And there's some nice stuff on there.
Were any surprises in mine?
No, and in fact, Room Service was on my list, and I had a hard time crossing it off. It's not on my list.
Well, this is going to get interesting.
I had to whittle it down, but Room Service was certainly there.
Yeah, I was that one and Two Timer were, and what I kind of did with this too was, as I was doing this, I started, okay, what's on the first album, what's on the second album, what's on the third album, and I kind of picked my top ones off of those each album first, because the reality was I could have picked how many songs on Kiss Alive. The reality is I could have picked
20 songs.
Yeah, I could have picked everything on there and then started adding on to that, right? Pretty easily. So I had to leave some songs off the list. Okay, so
keep going.
Let's go number 8 to number 5. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, number 8 for me, Strange Ways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Number 7 is 100,000 Years live version.
Yes.
Not the studio version. Number 6 is Flaming Youth.
Okay.
I'm going to stop there because we'll go to top 5 together.
Okay, here we go. I don't know my numbers, but I left off at Hard Luck Woman.
Yes.
Flaming Youth.
Oh, good, yeah.
I Stole Your Love.
Okay.
And Larger Than Life.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, those are interesting songs, actually. You know what? It just shows, this is so hard. Because one of the things we're going to have to...
Because you said 100,000 years, and you know what? I've got a real special spot in my heart for 100,000 years. And it's the solo. I don't like the verses as much. So when I had that on my list, it was like one of the last ones I had to cross off. Yeah. And I thought it's I don't really think it's that exciting in terms of the verses. But once Ace gets going, it's, he had almost made 13.
Well, part of this for me wasn't just the songs, because I could have picked 50 or 60 songs easily. Obviously, we're Kiss fans, right? So, but for me, it was sort of also, what what was going on when I heard the song? Like how did it impact me? You know, like in 100,000 Years Live, I just remember I was a teenager laying up in my bedroom in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, in Port Maitland, in this farmhouse with this old stereo system. I put both albums on, you know, played one and then the other, right? Dropped it, LP player, and 100,000 Years, in the middle of the night, listened to that play, and the extended version of that between, you know, like you said, Ace Frehley and Peter Criss's drum solo, and then Paul Stanley's raps at the end where he gets the crowd going. That energy when he gets the crowd going, and I know it's probably staged, but it was so.
That's what a Kiss concert is.
But it was so effective for me. Like, you know, it says if you believe in what if you believe in rock and roll, well, stand up for what you believe in. And then everybody, come on, get up, and everybody in the crowd.
Oh, you can hear the energy.
Oh my God!
I don't know if they just lifted the fader in the mix, but you can really hear the energy.
The impact was there. Is my point, right? So
I felt it, and I had little blue plastic speakers, but I felt it.
Now I loved. You mentioned, so we both had Flamin' Youth right up there.
Yeah,
something
that's the only one in common.
Is that the only one in common? You keeping track of those?
Yes. Not really. We're going to read through them again really quickly after.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, do your top five.
My top five. Okay. My number. Okay, you're going to have to guess my top three though. Okay. Or my top two, okay, at least my top two. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 and 4. Number 5 was King of the Nighttime World.
I almost had that one. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. Here's one we have the same. I Stole Your Love. Yes. And that's the studio version. I do not anywhere near like the live version, anywhere near as much as the studio version. That's the way they recorded the guitars and the rawness of that. Just the way they play those rhythm guitars on that song and the dual leads, and Paul Stanley's voice was perfect for me. So that's that's number 4 for me, right? But it was also I'll go back to that. Okay, number 3 was Detroit Rock City studio version, not the live version again. Like I'm differentiating there because there's some live versions.
They are different. Yeah.
There's some live versions that I like, but so we'll go back to those in a second. So what are your next? Go take me up to don't tell me your top 2. Just go up to your.
Okay. Top 5. I think I mentioned Larger Than Life. Well, that was 5.
Okay.
Love Her All I Can because of those riffs and the guitar solo to me is the best Ace Frehley I've ever heard.
Yes.
Number 3 spot, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, the Alive version. The Dress to Kill version wouldn't have even made my list. But to me, that jam.
That's on Hotter Than Hell, I think, isn't it?
Oh, Let Me Go Rock and Roll? Harder Than Hell, okay. See, I don't even like the studio version that
much. I hate the studio version of that,
It doesn't even have a guitar solo. It's 2.5 minutes long. It's a throwaway. Anyway, the live version, and I've heard so many. I just saw one on YouTube the other day that I hadn't seen. It was recorded somewhere, but it was the 75, a live tour, Dress to Kill tour. But and it's different every time you hear it. But the Alive one, man, the stuff that's going on. There's no singing. It's just that guitar work. It's just
there's about 5 different bridges in there. They do different breakdowns they do in that song. Yeah.
Yep. And then you got a little Gene bit.
Yeah, the bass on
the bass, and then Peter's doing some cool stuff behind it. To me, that shows where the band was really working together as a machine.
I agree.
As a 4-part machine.
I agree, 100%. And
your number 1 and 2, I don't know, but I'm going to guess that it might be something outside the box. And what I mean by the box is, the Makeup Years. I'm going to guess that you might have something from, oh God, what's the album they put out before they got back together?
What, Revenge?
Revenge. I was going to guess something maybe from Revenge.
I don't have anything on Revenge on my top 25.
I wouldn't even know, Jeff. What
I know.
I'm going to guess that it's not something that I have on my list. Although I'll throw Black Diamond in there.
Well, I know that's on your list, so that's what I say. And I say that you got what? How many left? 2 left.
2
I
left.
say Black Diamond, and let me see what I had here. I don't know. Maybe Strutter. And no, I know what it is. I'm going to say your top 2. Are Black Diamond and Making Love. I'm not sure what order.
Oh, shit.
You forgot one.
Making Love's not even on my list. How did that? Well, you know what? No, here I'd have to count them because that would be there. Now I was shuffling them around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, Making Love got deleted. It's in there somewhere, and I would say somewhere in the top 5. So yes, you were right, but it's not on my list. So I'll just make it number 5.
Okay, but Black Diamonds are one of your top 2.
It's the top one.
Yeah, and then the other one, then if you didn't have it on there, must be
Let Me Be Your Sunday Driver, Let Me Be Your Monday Man.
Let Me Know. Right on. I didn't have that. Actually, I didn't have that one on there. I should have, though.
And I have to specify, not the studio version.
Oh yeah,
It's the live version, and it's because of the energy, and it's because of the extended solo that Ace Frehley puts in there,
right on.
Which to me is just
I know excellent. that is a good version. That is a really good. As is
I love it.
As is the version of I like Room Service and Two Timer from that album too. Very good versions of that.
They're very good.
Very
versions,
heavy, a little heavier than normal, right? So that's pretty cool. So Black Diamond and yeah, that makes.
You know what I don't like about Let Me Know on the studio version is the ending. It goes, "You let me know."
Oh, it does the she part.
And then, I love that she solo. That's really cool, which is really the Let Me Go solo.
Yeah.
But I don't like that little barbershop a cappella at the end of it. I really love the live version. And then you let me know.
I don't know how that gets on your list, though, because there was another part of that song that you didn't like either that you said. When we did the guitar show, you didn't like the bam,
I don't like
bam,
the riff.
bam, bam, bam.
No. And yet, the song has enough redeeming qualities to make it as number two.
I think it's a great show. I think it's on my list somewhere. It made my top 25. You start shredding things here, and you just end up taking things off. Like, it'd be kind of curious. I'll show you some things I had in my top 25 there. Okay.
So what's your top 2?
All right. What were your guesses? Black Diamond was on?
I guess Black Diamond and God, I wouldn't even know, Jeff.
It's hard. I know.
I don't know.
Well, you're wrong.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Yeah, Black Diamond didn't make my top 25
Really?
Not that I don't like it. I just again, it's just I have to.
You're not a Kiss.
you might say that when you see some other things that are on my top 25, but I had to keep, I said, I had to keep deleting stuff, and I had this awareness of trying to. I had different errors that I really didn't want to leave stuff off of certain albums. Like I didn't want to leave something off of in the top 25 anyway. Okay, here's my top 2. All right, my top number 2 is studio version of Shock Me.
Oh, yeah.
And because it meant so much.
I'm surprised that never made my list.
Yeah, especially since you recorded it. But the reason it was on my list is, again, time. 1977, that's when I saw Kiss. I Stole Your Love was a huge song for me in 1977. Went to see the concert in Moncton. Shock Me, 1977, same thing. I listened to that thing 1,000 times on the way to the concert. Ace Frehley's first vocal and one of the best leads he's ever written.
Easily.
Right?
Easily.
So that's why that was my number 2. I couldn't leave it off. It is, and also, you know what else I like on that? Is that little drum beat in there. It's like that's such an offbeat drum on that song that I love.
Well, the funny thing is, when we listened to Love Gun, it was probably the summer of '78 before we got our hands on that one. But we found that the drums on Love Gun, the snare drum sounded like a bucket.
Yeah. It was different.
Because we were taking drumming lessons. Me and my buddies there was a guy teaching private drumming lessons, and a couple of us had some drum kits. Now, I mean, these were not great kits at all. Some of them were like $100 drum kits used, 50 years old. But yet, our drums sounded better than what we were hearing on Love Gun. We didn't like the drum sound at all, and several tunes. It's like, why does the snare drum sound like a plastic bucket?
It was so different for them. It was like it had no ambiance at all compared to, say, like, that's completely different feel from, say,
Destroyer. The snare drum sounds like a cannon.
Well, the whole album, like I said this before.
Gorgeous.
I said this sounds like you're standing on a mountainside looking down to a valley, and there's a band playing in a cave. Right, with fire coming up around. That's what Destroyer sounds like to me, and it's such a different album. And that's what I love about the band, though, is because of that. I remember Love Gun was in your face. Like I remember it was like when you think of that the first time you heard I Stole Your Love, okay, in your fucking face.
Oh,
I mean, it's a.
However, the first time I heard I Stole Your Love was on Kiss Alive 2. Sorry, the first time I heard I Stole Your Love was in Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Okay. So you didn't get the good version.
No.
The studio version.
And you know something? When I heard the studio version of I Stole Your Love, I didn't think it sounded as sonically exciting. I don't like the sound of Love Gun. It's one of my favorite albums. But I don't like the production of it.
Almost everything you go back and listen to like that never sounds quite as good. Like when I went back and listened to the original 3 albums after hearing Alive, I struggled for a while with the production values of Kiss and Hotter Than Hell, and it just until I kind of warmed up to it. Okay, so that's my top 12.
Yeah.
My top song, and here's where we're going to agree. And by the way, you didn't pick Love Gun either, which I'm finding.
No, I didn't, and I'm surprised. You know what? I don't even think that was on my big master list either.
Which is shocking to me because you love that song. It's
shocking to me because Anyway,
it shows you though. It shows you the diversity.
It shows me that I just had so many titles to look at that I forgot.
Yeah,
some of my.
There's so many great songs. I mean, I have 25, and I lost 25 easily. Okay, my number one song we agree 100% on this song. That's "Let Me Go Rock and Roll," the Kiss Alive extended version.
That was your number one?
Yeah,
I fully support
because
that.
Because for all the same reasons you said. Not the studio version, the live version is just, to me, it's the epitome of Kiss in every single way.
Jeff, just run down without explanation. Just run through your list again, just top to bottom.
Lick It Up, Psycho Circus, Two Timer, Room Service, Ladies Room, studio version, Strange Ways, 100,000 Years Live, Flaming Youth, King of the Nighttime World, I Stole Your Love studio version, Detroit Rock City studio version, Shock Me studio version, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll.
Yeah, okay. And I had Journey of a Thousand Years, Only You Under the Rose, Parasite, Watchin You, Hard Luck Woman, Flaming Youth, I Stole Your Love, Larger Than Life, Making Love, Love Her All I Can, Let Me Go Rock and Roll from Alive, and Let Me Know from whatever that album was called.
Kiss.
What was it called?
Kiss.
You Wanted the Best?
Oh, for that one, yeah, You Wanted the Best, yeah. Well, here's what I thought you were going to say, okay?
Yeah, okay, go through the 8 that you thought I was going to say.
I thought you were going to have Only You.
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
I thought you were going to Making Love. Mm-hmm. Black Diamond.
Which I did, and it just got lost in the shuffle.
Black Diamond.
Yeah.
I thought you'd say Detroit Rock City and King of Nighttime World.
Yeah, King was close to, but I had to scratch it.
I thought Strutter might make it.
No.
Didn't, and I thought Love Her All I Can.
Yeah, that's it.
I thought you might say Got to Choose.
Yeah, that was close.
And then I had Coming Home Unplugged.
I don't really like that song.
Even though we recorded it.
We recorded it and we had fun doing that, but I don't really care for it.
I can't really say, like, if I look at your list, there's nothing there that if you look at the top 25, right? Here's the rest of my top 25. You want that? Or how many crossovers did we have on that top 13?
The crossovers we had were Flaming Youth, I Stole Your Love, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Yeah. I think that was it.
That was it?
Making Love?
No, I didn't say that, no.
No? Okay.
Well, that's... there's no real pattern there either, so it's...
No, but the reason I asked you to go through your list again was I wanted to see how much non-makeup material you had.
0.
I think the only one is Lick It Up.
Oh, Lick It Up's only one. Yeah.
And mine has none. However, outside the box, Journey of a Thousand Years is from Psycho Circus, but we all know that's like Frankenstein of ideas and players.
Well, one of the things I'd like to do with this show is I'd really like to hear what anybody who watches the show what their top 13 is and what and why and those kind of things.
That's fun. Let's get people who we know are watching this, get them to do their 13 and post it on either on Facebook or on YouTube.
Here's the difficulties, right? Like, here's an example, and I'm going to explain Lick It Up to you and why Lick It Up was important to me. Is it the best song they ever did? No, but it was like, I think I explained this to you one time. This was their, I guess it was sort of, they kind of disappeared, and then this was their comeback. And at the time, again, just at the time, it had, when I first heard it on the radio, it had a lot of balls to it when it first came out, and in the video and all that stuff kind of played in together. Seeing them for the first time, all that kind of stuff. I could easily drop. But here's the song I dropped off in order to put Lick It Up on. So my number 14 song, you won't believe this, Deuce Live.
Yeah,
So I
agree with
had
that.
to drop it off. I had to deuce. My favorite intro of any album anywhere. I love the way the guy intros Kiss, right, on that album, in the beginning of that concert. Way better than any other one they've ever done. And just the voice that he uses, and you want the higher voice and not the best, right? 15. I'll go in the other direction now, right? Charisma. 16 is All the Way.
Yeah.
17, you won't like this one. Got Love for Sale, off of Love Gun. 18, Take Me. I Want You didn't show up anywhere, which is interesting. 19 was Parasite, and that was the live version. I don't care for the studio version at all. 20.
Well, see, that album has such a dark sound.
I don't think it's a good sound, though. That's my problem with it. It's engineering wise, it doesn't sound good to me, and it really those songs sound so much better live and less electronic. 20 was Love Her All I Can. 21 was Going Blind Unplugged version. 22 was Hard Times off of Dynasty. 23, another one you don't like, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em. But again, these songs come to me because, again, it's a time and a place. I remember playing on the Yarmouth High School basketball team in the wintertime, driving to Windsor, Nova Scotia, playing Love 'Em, Leave 'Em on my little cassette player that I recorded manually off of my LP, right? And just remember when that album first came out, loved everything they did at that point. 24 is Magic Touch off of Dynasty. And then 25 was Hide Your Heart.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff left on.
The kind of stuff I had to cross off, and it hurt to cross these off, but like 100,000 Years, it hurt to cross that off. Yeah. I can't even think now. I wish I'd kept them. I just started slashing them, but yes. There are some real gems that I'm very fond of, and it like I say, it hurt to cross them off. 100,000 Years, geez, I can't think now. But I just wanted to just mention a couple of the ones that I do have on my list. Parasite and Watchin You, because of the riff, the way that's a riff-based song. We talked about that about a half hour ago. Hard Luck Woman, to me, that is the perfect marriage of I don't know if marriage is the good word,
I know.
the best word to use, between Paul's writing and Peter's performance. And I don't know how much guitar is more Paul and how much is more Ace Frehley, but the guitar work on it is really, really gorgeously done. The intertwining
it's very
12-string acoustic, and listen to the bass line. Is that ever a nice bass line? I think Gene's one of the most underrated bass players out there, and to me, I compare him to Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney, I think, is one of the best rock bass players. Just take any Beatles song and just listen to the bass line, or listen to Wings. That's where you really hear the bass lines. If you listen to Hard Luck Woman, you get this really interesting bass line.
For sure.
The layering of acoustic guitars is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful song. So there's Paul's input, and then you got Peter with these amazing Rod Stewart vocals. And I think, I got a somewhere in the middle, but I think it just stands out as just a perfect example of the talent that Kiss had. And I just wish they had more like those.
I think it's a good choice because, and the other part of that, like I said, whenever Kiss did something well, it was a composition of a number of different things being brought together. It wasn't one thing standing out. It wasn't because just Paul's voice or just Ace's lead. Yeah. It was all this stuff coming together. Like, and Hard Luck Woman's a great, because even the drums have a neat little thing to them, right? But that bass, I remember you and I jamming Hard Luck Woman in your apartment, and I remember playing that. I mean, we talked about it before. I was playing that fretless bass, and I love playing that bass riff. Okay. But there's another guitar part. There's a lead guitar player part there that's almost country in that song, and it makes me think of a song on Metallica has a song called "Mama Said," which is out there for them. It's an acoustic song, and it has gets heavier later, but it's acoustic, and it has this sort of almost a guitar that sounds almost like a steel guitar. So it kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, that's a great choice, and for a lot of different reasons. What else did you leave off the table? I mean,
oh gosh, I can't think of what I left off. But I just wanted to talk about some of the ones that I did have on my list. We both had Flaming Youth.
Yes.
And I'm surprised I put Flaming Youth in my top 13, and I'm surprised it's in your top 13. But there's something different about it, and it doesn't get a whole lot of attention. It's on the second side of Destroyer. Now, for people who remember records, okay, it's on the second side of Destroyer.
Yes.
I think it's the first track.
First track side too, right before Sweet Pain.
Yeah. It's what I absolutely love it. What warms me about it is I just love the way the calliope comes in. At the end of it, you get this big rockin' typical Kiss tune, but then it just kind of pulls back, and then this little calliope creeps in, and it's got a really cool riff, which is actually, if you go through enough Kiss demos, you hear that riff used on something else. I can't remember who came up with it or what it was used on, but the one that goes boom.
And that's got some weird timing, huh?
Yes, that's kind of wonky to play. But the song itself, the structure, Paul's vocals, even just the imagery. My parents think I'm crazy and they hate the things I do.
I'm stupid and I'm lazy. Man, if they only
That is just the typical youth rebellion song.
And I listened to it when I was 16.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was 13 or 14 when I first heard it. Great tune, but just those sound effects and calliopes at the end. It's a little gem. It's a gem.
Yeah, because it goes,
Do You Love Me was on my list that I had to scratch. And it's because it's so unique. It's so different.
You see,
because they got some cool guitar sound towards the end of it. They got some cool guitar sounds, and if you listen really later on in the song, you hear bells. And I just love the way the bells connect. When they do it live, they're doing some really cool arpeggios.
Yeah, you and I are so different. I mean, it's funny how we describe things so differently, right? Because the best part of that song for me is at the end when it fades out, and you can. We're gonna have ourselves a rock and roll party. No, it didn't say tonight. Just we're gonna rock and roll party.
You can hear that, and you can hear. You can't hear that in "Do You Love Me" though.
Yeah, you can. At the end, it fades out at the end to this sample.
You're talking about that weird sound effect at the very end of Destroyer.
Yeah,
it's called Rock and Roll Party.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the actual song, "Do You Love Me"?
No, it's just what at the end of "Do You Love Me," right? Then it fades into that.
It goes after.
It goes. That's my favorite part of the. Well, I've always associated that with "Do You Love Me," but.
Well, you see, my first experience with "Do You Love Me" was from Double Platinum, and it was kind of sandwiched between Strutter and Dr. Love or something.
Some big songs didn't make the list. She didn't make it.
I had a hard time scratching that one off the list.
But you know what? I decided that, like I said, I had to make a decision on, okay, what were my favorite Kiss Alive songs? Because otherwise, like I said, I would have had Deuce, Strutter, Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, Nothing to Lose, Come On and Love Me, Parasite She, Watchin You, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, May As Well Finish, Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night. Even Rock and Roll All Night, that's the only version I like of it I've ever heard.
Isn't that funny that didn't make our list? There's a big surprise.
It's saturation, right? It's the song.
But the thing about She is that although I've got a real fond space in my heart for it, it's the ending of She on the live version.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which is what have put it on my list to begin with. But when you consider that riff actually comes from Let Me Know. But it's an amazing bit of Ace Frehley.
It actually doesn't.
The song itself is not that exciting. You get like this G chord, G chord an octave higher, and it's not till da 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 da. That's when it gets a little bit interesting. The solo work is cool, but when we get back into the vocals, she walks by moonlight. It's kind of cool, but it's not that exciting. So for that reason alone, It just didn't rank as high as some other ones that I think were just. And this is something I was going to mention. Like, how do you justify what's on your list? What are your reasons for choosing a particular song? And for me, it's a whole bunch of things. It could be the sound of it. It could be the lyrics. It could be the structure, the songwriting, the guitar work. And I think what it comes down to for all of these is that it's the perfect combination of all of them.
I wonder if there's a pattern here. I'm looking at my list now. I'm thinking who sings them. Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Let Me Go Rock and Roll is Gene and Paul, right? It's Gene's song, but kind of Paul sings it with him. Shock Me is Ace Frehley's song. Detroit Rock City is Paul. I Story Love is Paul. King of Nighttime World is Paul. Flaming Youth is Paul. 100,000 Years is Paul. Strange Ways is Peter Criss. Ladies Room is Gene. Room Service Paul. Two Timer Gene. Psycho Circus is Paul, and so is Look It Up. So mostly Paul, but that's kind of fits.
You know what? I think I got mostly Gene.
I don't think. Yeah.
There's only one Peter Criss song with lead vocals, and that's Hard Luck Woman. And there's nothing there that Ace sings solo on. But a lot of these are Gene vocals.
I tell you, there's the songs that made the list. Like, I know you don't like. Let's talk about the ones that I got on that you don't like in my top 25.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about those. Like, Got Love for Sale. I know you're not a fan of that song, right?
It does nothing for me.
Yeah. So I'll tell you why it's on my list. The biggest reason it's on my list is the guitar. It's the lead guitar on that. I just love the way it's in that A pentatonic stuff that Ace does, and he does these little rolls in it that just kind of fit so well. So that's what kind of whenever he does a lead like that, it kind of brings me into the song. Yeah. And he did the same thing in same kind of really cool leads and Love 'Em Leave 'Em. Those little right. Whenever he does that kind of stuff, it draws me into the song, right? And I never forget it, right? But you didn't have any songs that I would disagree with. Like, Journey of 1,000 Years, I had to have Psycho Circus on my list. I do like. I don't like the title of the song necessarily, but the premise. But I definitely think it's a good song.
It is. There's some really cool, interesting passages happening there. You know, the riff is kind of cool. Well, the thing I like least about the song is the. Did you hear a bell?
Yeah, that's my phone. Just ignore it.
Okay. Is the chorus
I had an idea.
Itself. What?
No, that was the ring.
Oh. Sorry. Ding.
Yeah.
What I don't like about Psycho Circus is the chorus. You're in the sun.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It sounds good, but it doesn't make any sense.
But you know what? There's some really cool stuff in there. Like when they get into those little guitar solos and it builds up and it pulls back. Dynamically, it's a lot more interesting. Like we were talking about Asylum. To me, there's no dynamics in that at all. It's just
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, but you take Psycho Circus and it's big and then it's pulls back and it's laid back. Then it's big and. I think that's a good choice. In terms of guitar work. Yeah.
Well, part of me for picking it was because like sometimes I can't help but be influenced by how it feels to play it live, and that song is one of the best songs to play live. There's no doubt about it because of the like I said, the build and the back. It just brings out a lot of energy out of you when you play, because especially later when it goes down and it goes, it goes slow, the sound goes, then it comes back and the big crashes in it and stuff, and anything like that. That was what was always cool about Detroit Rock City when it first came out, and the cars crashing at the end. Hey, there's some other 13s that I want to bring to we want to talk about though.
Yep. Okay, so I'll leave the list for a while.
We're at 58 minutes, just so you know, right? So here's a 13. That we didn't talk about. Remember, now Ace and Peter just played together at Eddie Trunk's party, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know how many years it's been since they played together?
13?
13 years.
Well, that was just a guess.
Yeah. Well, why would I bring it up? 7.5 years ago. Yeah, so it was 13 years ago. On December 13th, the day this show is coming out, I'm having a heart procedure.
Oh.
Not a dangerous one, just an ablation. So that's another 13 that's coming up.
Creatures of the Night was released on October 13th in 1981. A useless piece of trivia. All trivia is useless, I guess.
I thought you were going to say useless piece of crap. I thought you were going to discuss. I thought that's what you were going to say about the album.
Any thoughts on Creatures?
Creatures wasn't. Again, they were coming out after The Elder and after Unmasked, so they were definitely trying to become heavier. I think they succeeded. Like, you don't like the material, but for what they tried to do, there was a few songs on there. I actually do like War Machine myself, and I do like I Love It Loud. I remember seeing those videos. The video for "I Love It Loud" was really cool. Had these kids sitting around a television with their eyes going wonky. But Gene was singing, "Stand up." It was actually he was bang it or leave it. and I remember Paul doing this little pirouette while he's playing the B note, and it's actually a fun song to play. It's simple, but so I think it had Creatures on the Night as well.
I'd have to say my favorite on that would be Creatures. That's probably my favorite song on it, and I Still Love You.
Oh, that's
just because it's just pulling it back. Hang on, is it? I think it's in 6/8.
I don't know.
It is. It's in 6/8. Yeah, I Still Love You. There you go. A Kiss song in 6/8.
A lot of Kiss fans don't like that song. I actually liked it, and I really liked the version they did on Unplugged.
Oh man, Unplugged is amazing.
That's one of their best.
Wow.
Someday we should talk about the albums, I guess. But I mean, I always want to resist doing things that everybody else has done. But we talked about Unplugged a bit. But it really made me a fan again. That album did, and what they could accomplish. For sure. But Creatures, I agree with you with Creatures, though.
Here's a little bit of trivia for you. If you looked at, don't open Wikipedia. Don't do it.
I won't.
If you opened Creatures of the Night in Wikipedia and looked at the songwriters list, whose name appears the most?
Is it Vinnie Poncia or something like that? Or
close.
It's not Vinnie Vincent?
Yes.
We got to do something about Vinnie.
Vinnie Vincent co-wrote. Okay, let's say there's 10 songs on the album.
Yeah.
Vinnie Vincent co-wrote 8 of them. There's 2 on the end where his name is.
We got to have a show. We got to have some pieces where we talk about Vinny, because I got to, again, when I go back.
That's just the oddest thing, because Vinny is that crossover. I mean, he actually had a Kiss persona in terms of makeup as the
which
Egyptian
I particularly thought was really cool.
And then he did have a short stint in the Unmasked era. Not Unmasked album, but without makeup, and then he was gone quite quickly.
After Lick It Up,
it's weird.
Well, it was like anything that ever happens, though. It's like, did he fit into the band? Like that's everything. I mean, you can write music, you can play music, but you have to. It's a unit that has to work effectively together. But I gotta tell you, I like the Aztec Warrior myself. I thought that was, if you're gonna, that character, and I thought he looked. I remember seeing for the first time, I hadn't seen this, was in Rio, and they were playing, and Eric Carr was in the band, and I remember they had the big what was it, a tank drum set, and
that was cool.
And I thought Vinny looked pretty darn cool with that sort of partial flying V guitar he was playing. Right?
Yep. Like a Charvel or something.
Yeah. And Paul...
He did look kind of cool. He was a good fit. Now, they called him an Ace Frehley lookalike.
I agree.
I kind of agree. He kind of looked like him. He had this similar kind of stature, the long stringy hair.
And he used a variation of silver. He had a gold...
It was gold,
right?
Yeah.
So, But that's a metallic.
Yeah.
Right? So I think
and if you look at his costume... If you look at his costume, it could have very well have easily been an Ace Frehley costume.
I'd like to do some more about Vinny, because I think this is not one of those cases where Kiss fans get split on the topic. About the Kiss guitar players and what they meant to the band. And I know other people have talked about whether or not Vinny saved the band or not. He kept them his interaction with them kept them afloat. Whether they would have done it without him or not, we'll never know, because it didn't happen that way. It happened.
Vinny is the first replacement for Ace Frehley. Now, Ace Frehley's had a lot of replacements over the years. So that's something to look at. It's like, why Vinny when there's so many people? Why not Bob Kulick? Why not Bruce Kulick?
Who would you want to get on your show more, other than Gene, Paul, Peter, and Ace? Okay, let's throw them out. Okay.
Yeah.
Of all the people associated, all the musicians associated with Kiss, who would you want to talk to the most?
Eric Singer.
See, I wouldn't. I'd want to talk to Vinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the show.
I don't think. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I would welcome almost anyone.
I know, but who would you want
onto
most?
the show? Who would I want the most, other than the original 4? I don't know. Well, Eric Singer.
Why Eric?
I've met him, and he's a very sweet guy to talk to, and that's who I'd want to have most on the show.
Okay, well, that's and I have more. He seems to be a lot more of a known entity to me. Vinnie Vincent now is almost got the status.
Well, he's mysterious.
Yeah. He's not. He's not on the. You never see him. You never hear from him. He doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. He doesn't say boo about any of this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for him in this, and I'd just like to see what it'd be like to talk to that guy and see what he's up to and what it was like back in those days, because he was there for a really, really important transition.
Oh yes, and what's unfortunate is that he doesn't appear on a Kiss album cover in Vinnie Vincent makeup. When you look at Creatures, he played pretty much all the lead guitar on that. I don't think Ace Frehley did anything, but yet you see Ace Frehley's picture on the front. That really should have been Vinnie Vincent. Again, it was that attempt to try to keep the original diehard fans, trying to give the illusion that the original band is still somehow still functioning. Because you look at The Elder, we all knew that Eric Carr was on The Elder, but they didn't show the band.
Have you ever seen?
And the first thing I thought about The Elder was, I knew The Elder was coming out, and I thought, I'm curious to see what the cover is going to look like. This is going to be the first time we're going to see a Kiss cover without Peter Criss. What are they going to do? And when the band wasn't on there, I thought, that doesn't surprise me. As much as I was disappointed, I wanted to see. I was confused by the cover and the whole album itself. But anyway, getting back to Vinnie, it's too bad that Vinnie doesn't appear on an album cover in his makeup. His first album cover appearance is Lick It Up, and he could be anyone.
Well, I personally think that if Vinnie Vincent wants to make an appearance on a show for the first time in a long time, this would be the one he comes on.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. There's an invitation for Vinnie to
I'm sure
to come onto the show and talk.
He talks to us all the time, right? So 13 is we really dug to get some stuff on 13.
If I could just go off topic of Kiss for a second.
Sure.
The newest Black Sabbath album is called 13. And they just released recently, I don't know if it was this week or last week, but the live DVD. They are playing Halifax. I am brokenhearted that I cannot see Black Sabbath because, one, it's sold out, and two, it's on a Thursday night, and I really can't get 2 days off to go see a concert because I just couldn't drive down there fast enough to make the show and drive back late enough to make work the next day. I could put in for the days off, but I would just be I'd lose too much. But anyway,
see, there's my tears. I got here.
Yeah, but the DVD, that's what I have new this week, and I watched it all. And are you a Sabbath fan?
No,
I
don't dislike them, but they just the timing just didn't work for me in terms of. Now, the reason where I was going with the 13 thing was what we didn't talk about was sort of the imagery around superstition and horror and how Kiss never really went there when bands before them and after them did, like Alice Cooper kind of led into Kiss, which led into Marilyn Manson, and we started talking about that the other night, and Kiss really stayed away from that.
Well, it's almost kind of a contradiction. I mean, if you look at Gene Simmons, okay, look at him when he appears on the Mike Douglas show. Yes. Okay, he comes out looking the way he looks. His makeup is suggesting something bat-like because Mike Douglas says, "Are you a bat?"
Yes.
If you look at his costume, the main focus of the costume is this big skull on his chest.
Oh yeah.
Which he kind of abolished not too far down the road.
And his wings,
his wings, his bat wings, the bat on the makeup, and this big skull. So you'd almost think like, okay, Gene is part of a horror act. What do? They do Firehouse. I'm not sure what Firehouse is a metaphor for. It doesn't sound too sexual. I don't know, like our lovemaking is so hot, I'm setting this bedroom on fire, call it the Firehouse.
And it would be bad grammar. I mean, get the firehouse. I mean, why wouldn't you say, well, call the fire department?
But so much of their music is about it's getting hot. Yes. You're looking good tonight, and damn, she's sexy. And you better call Dr. Love.
Yeah, and I got a stiff proposition, and I took charge, and she was on me like a cheap suit, and she had lingerie, and she was too young, and
then a stewardess in a tight white dress says, "I got the time." Tight blue dress.
Completely.
It's fun. It's a complete contradiction because their music is so. If they're not exploring just love in general, I mean, there's a million rock songs that are about love. Take a song like "Got to Choose," which is just innocent enough, right? Then you get down to the real dirty. like Christine 16 or.
But they didn't start doing that kind of thing until they got a little bit later. Like when they started to. Let's say, work off, play off their image more. That's when they started writing songs that played on it.
Yeah.
But early days, look at the topics of the early songs.
Yeah, well, Nothing to Lose about anal sex. Strutter and Black Diamond about girls. Prostitute. Parasite's about a girl. Watching You is about infatuation.
How do you know Nothing to Lose is about anal sex?
Gene Simmons said it.
Did he? I missed that one.
Did you? You didn't know that?
No. It could be.
Well, I read that recently somewhere.
So what does worth a deuce mean?
I was thinking about that. Your man is working hard. He's worth a deuce. Like he's worth double the affection. Or you better do him twice tonight. That's what I got from that.
Okay, I guess. I don't know.
Right?
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like
Hotter Than Hell. She looked good. She looked hotter than hell. It's about a girl.
That one was pretty obvious.
And then some are just about rock and roll. Like Let Me Go, rock and roll all night.
Yeah.
Some are just about the music and the party. But a lot of them are about love, and a lot of them are about girls.
They certainly weren't about horror. They certainly weren't.
No, when Gene comes out on this TV show, looking the way he does. And he's got the spotlight, and he's created a bit of what's the word? A bit of a scene in the way he entered and the way the people reacted to him. And what does he do? He capitalizes on that. He says your audience looks really appetizing. All those cheeks and necks. What was he going for? So you would almost expect now when this band comes out, they're all going to look like Gene or Alice Cooper, and the song is going to be, rip, rip, and destroy. But it's not. It's Firehouse. And so there's sort of a weird contradiction between the way he looked and acted and the kind of music that they were doing. And they never did go in that direction, that horror, evil, spooky kind of thing, which would have worked so well for them. It really would have. I think the closest it came to it might have been God of Thunder, because it deals with something that's a little bit more, underworldly and ethereal, and King of the Nighttime World could have
almost humans
kind
of close to that, right?
Yeah. But it doesn't really go in that direction, does it?
No. I mean, that's what I said. They kept it more accessible. I think it was, it definitely was, like I said, like today it was really, it's very pop like today, really, compared to a lot of things, right? So.
Oh yeah.
But so they never really followed that road where a lot of bands kind of took off. But it became more about shock value, the spectacle, and like again, the song titles. Again, the song titles depend on who was writing the songs. There's a whole show there, just kind of like what the master lyricist Gene Simmons, right, would be. Well,
there's a show right there. Let's just look at themes and images.
Sure. Yeah.
We could take like our top 13 or top 20 songs and say, what kind of an image are they going for here?
Yeah, what kind
of an image do you get when you listen to this?
Yeah.
Or if you really really look at the words and say, okay, what's the message here? Yeah. But, Cooper certainly went in that direction. Welcome to My Nightmare. It's almost like his signature song. It works so well for him. Because he is,
there was so much
someone's nightmare.
And he even exaggerated that as he went along. It started off with, it was completely different imagery when he first started. But so it's been pretty interesting, Jeff. I think that 13. So the next show is
will be our Christmas spectacular, our Christmas spectacular. Yeah,
kiss that, kiss.
Everything Christmas. Yeah. Kissed away.
Yeah.
So I got a few little surprises for that show, which I think are gonna. I think of anything. I don't think there's a whole lot you can relate Kiss to Christmas in some ways, and then we'll certainly have a little discussion on that. I think more than anything, it's just a chance for us to really greet each other and cheers salute each other for doing 13 or 14 shows.
14 shows, yeah.
And getting to greet our viewers and wish them a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think it's like Halloween. It's just a celebration of the occasion, rather than any deep, direct discussion of what Kiss is. But I have a couple theories as well on Kiss and Christmas. So I've got a theory on everything.
You're gonna that's gonna be on your tombstone. I have a theory about.
Yeah,
Kiss.
I have a theory.
I have a theory about Kiss on my tombstone. Mm-hmm. So it's been a lot of fun. Actually, like you said, when you got to the songs, what's really interesting about this, and as you said before, Jeff, I really encourage any Kiss fan to try that exercise.
Yes, it's a hard exercise, and you know what? It becomes emotional when you're looking at this list and you're saying, "How can I cross off 100,000 years? Oh my God, how can I do that?"
I didn't find that hard because every time I went to do it, I said, "Okay, every time I want to put some song in there, it means I got to kick one out." So that's how I did it. Like there's songs that I really love that I just said I can't kick out Detroit Rock City or Strange Ways or something like that for and
it also comes down to where we are at this point in time, because Detroit Rock City, perhaps one of their strongest, best constructed songs and just one of my favorites, but my God, I've just heard it so many friggin' times. And it's not fair for me to put Journey of 1,000 Years on my list when 100,000 Years isn't even there. But right now in my head, Journey of 1,000 Years is much more pleasing musically at this moment than 100,000 Years. So.
I guess I wonder, though, what I wonder about that is you said we started off that premise with, if Kiss was going to play a concert for you.
Yeah.
So how the hell would they play that song?
Oh God, I don't know. Hypothetically thinking.
Back to the Anyway, so it's been fun. We should probably wrap it up, I think. And,
we're well over an hour now. So
yeah, but it's always a great time. And
I'm just curious how many people watch the show right to the bitter end.
I don't know.
So here's the test. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone who's watched the show right to the bitter end, okay, they have to make a comment on YouTube. And the code word is Ace is God.
Okay.
So anyone who writes Ace is God as a comment will know that they watched the show right to the end.
And Jeff's going to send you a box of chocolates.
And you will get a free box of chocolates, so leave your
from
name
Jeff's
and address as well. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, guaranteed he'll send you that. That's a promise. Just send your Visa.
Very good. Okay, then. So this is Jeff Scott in St. John, New Brunswick.
Yeah, and it's Mike Myers and Jeff Gray in Stewiacke, Nova Scotia.
Thanks for Watchin You, and we'll see you for the Christmas special
thank you.
in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Okay. We're honored. Bye.
Good night, folks.